Dementia of the Alzheimer type is a debilitating neurological disease that causes severe memory loss and a decline in cognitive skills. With the help of brain imaging scanners and a variety of case studies, scientists have found that music exposure can lead to improved symptoms in patients with Alzheimer's. In this presentation, I will identify these findings made by various experiments and attempt to explain them using neurological evidence with the goal of answering the question, to what extent does exposure to music affect memory and cognition in persons with dementia of the Alzheimer type? Recent developments made in neurological-related technology now enable scientists to study a living brain using brain imaging scanners. These advanced images can show areas of the brain that have loss of brain tissue or diminished activity. One common brain disease that can be identified by brain scan due to significant shrinking of brain tissue is dementia of the Alzheimer type. Alzheimer's is a progressive neurodegenerative disease, and the symptoms experienced by individuals depend on the certain area in which the shrinkage of the brain is occurring. The two brain areas to undergo tissue damage are the hippocampus, which retrieves memories and makes new memories, and the amygdala, which processes emotional reactions. Consequently, damage to these areas causes severe memory loss and decreased skills in the judgment of facial expressions and versification of speech. A study conducted by Cuddy and Duffin, however, found the brain disease does not seem to impact memory pertaining to music. The test subject suffered from severe Alzheimer's, and conventional assessment requiring verbal communication suggested she would have severe musical difficulties. Instead, the perception tests conducted found a dramatic contrast between her mental state and music cognition. While the test subject was unable to remember the instructions, write, or make sense of the response sheets, she was able to sing along to familiar tunes and respond to distorted memories with surprised facial expressions. Alzheimer's disease may also cause significant language deficits, issues with prosody, and gradual deterioration of speech. Since the brain disease does not seem to impact memory pertaining to music, most maintain the ability to sing familiar songs. Another study found that songs sung collectively by a group of people with middle to late stage Alzheimer's evoked memories that led to increased spontaneous conversation. The group members further expressed feeling positive, a heightened sense of belonging, and accomplishment. The act of singing targets the language centers in the brain, which ultimately promotes articulation, speech production, and verbal fluency. Alzheimer's can also cause enhanced anxiety, depression, and agitation. A further study found that a group of patients receiving daily music therapy showed significant improvement in depression and anxiety-related behavior as opposed to another group that was receiving standard therapy. Another study analyzed the effect that playing relaxation music during mealtimes in an Alzheimer's nursing home had on agitative behavior. The study concluded that musical interventions significantly decreased agitative behavior and promoted verbal communication. Also, by increasing their overall arousal, the music decreased their potential fear of surroundings and diverted their agitative behavior. Skeptics of music therapy for patients with Alzheimer's warn of the dangers of overestimating music intervention. They argue that music can create false memories, distress, and confusion. They also claim that there are a number of significant challenges related to studying patients with Alzheimer's. Various stages of the disease may impact the way in which individuals' responses can be measured. As the disease progresses, communication between test subjects and the researcher becomes limited. These patients may also be highly confused and feel compelled by the researchers to respond with false or made-up memories. Further, since these patients struggle with self-reference and cognitive skills, they may not be able to express their musical triggers and might experience anxiety and terror by these unknown sounds in an unknown world. While skeptics of music therapy for patients with Alzheimer's maintain valid concerns, the benefits of music exposure can further be legitimized by neurological findings made using brain imaging technology. There are three key neurological mechanisms that enable music to provide therapeutic advantages. First is dopamine, which aids in regulating attention, movement, emotion, memory, and reward. The release of high levels of dopamine can promote feelings of pleasure and reward and motivate a certain type of behavior to repeat. Alternatively, dopamine depletion results in reduced motivation and decreases overall pleasure. Dopamine depletion is a common symptom of Alzheimer's and causes cognitive impairment due to decreased receptor binding in the limbic structures. The hypothalamus and the amygdala are regions that are both responsive to music and influenced by dopaminergic pathways. Consequently, music intervention can promote dopamine, impact these regions, and improve the motivational and reward systems with Alzheimer's. Another key neurological mechanism that enables music to serve as a therapeutic tool is the autonomic nervous system. Listening to slow and calming music stimulates the autonomic nervous system and arouses the parasympathetic nervous system, and ultimately decreases agitation in patients with Alzheimer's. The third key neurological mechanism that enables music to serve as a therapeutic tool is the neuronal connectivity throughout the brain. Alzheimer's can cause eventual damage to the default mode network, which is an interconnected group of brain structures that impacts processes such as self-reference and ability to remember autobiographical memories. Listening to music stimulates the default mode network and improves its functionality. This further improves cognitive abilities related to self-reference and memory recollection and processing. Despite the evident memory and cognition-related improvements made by individuals with Alzheimer's as a result of music intervention, scientific research must be conducted to further legitimize these apparent therapeutic benefits. One potential study can expand on the little research that has been conducted on the impact that playing music may have on memory and cognition in Alzheimer's. In the potential study, 2 groups of test subjects with extensive musical training in a particular instrument will be formed. Group 1 will include individuals with early Alzheimer's. Group 2 will include individuals with late Alzheimer's. First, each member of Group 1 will take part in an individual one-on-one session with a musician that can play their musical instrument. Both parties will be provided with a musical instrument, and the musician will start to play a musical piece that is familiar and was once played by the individual with Alzheimer's, suggested by friends or family. Researchers will note if the individual with Alzheimer's starts to play along with the musician. Upon completing the familiar song, the test subject will be asked to play the song again. Researchers will again note if the task can be completed. Finally, the test subject will be asked to play any other song they want. Researchers will once again note if the task can or cannot be completed. After testing all subjects in Group 1, the same experiment will be conducted on Group 2. The findings made with this potential study could enable researchers to understand the impact that both stages of Alzheimer's may have on musical skills. Since music listening impacts a variety of neural areas and pathways all over the brain, music-related memories have been found to be spared for individuals with Alzheimer's. This potential study could enable scientists to determine if memories related to music playing will also be spared by Alzheimer's. Since neurology of music is a fairly new science that has only been studied significantly over the past 40 years, the healthcare system in the United States does not yet accept music therapy as a legitimate form of medical intervention for Alzheimer's, and yet music therapy could significantly decrease treatment costs associated with the disease. While no cure exists for Alzheimer's, cognition-enhancing medications are often prescribed to act as management strategies. When taking these medications, patients have experienced improved memory and cognitive performance, such as language. Despite this, none of the medications alleviate the mental health problems, including anxiety, depression, and agitation that come with coping with the disease in everyday life. Further, the medications often cause extensive side effects. The overall cost of healthcare for Alzheimer's in 2018 was $277 billion, which makes it the most expensive disease in America. The cost for donepezil, a commonly used medication, is approximately $367 a month. Alternatively, music intervention is inexpensive, requires little to no equipment, and can be implemented through many different approaches. Due to the overall sentiment that music therapy is not a legitimate form of medical treatment, only 60% of caregivers and nurses admit to using the music intervention when caring for patients. A study found that 30% of caregivers used singing, 23% used the radio, 20% used live music, 10% used a music therapist, and 7% used a music player. The study also found that music therapy was not as common as it could be because nurses and caregivers lacked the knowledge required to provide adequate music therapy. It is evident that incorporating proper music therapy as a form of treatment for patients with Alzheimer's will require more educational resources to be made available to nurses, caregivers, and long-term care facilities. So, in conclusion, the impact of music exposure on individuals with Alzheimer's is very significant. Listening to music stimulates the autobiographical memory recollection, decreases agitation, and improves feelings of anxiety and depression. The act of singing also promotes language and communication. The advancement of neurological-related technologies such as brain imaging scanners have played a key role in understanding the areas of the brain impacted by music. It is only by expanding the scientific knowledge through neurological studies that scientists may encourage the healthcare system to implement music therapy as a standard treatment for patients with Alzheimer's.